la persona que nos va a deleitar ahora con sus conocimientos en una conferencia que lleva por título Proyecto Especial, fíjense, no espacial, no, especial, fenómeno UAP, es el delegado de ICER en Italia, que después estará también con nosotros en la presentación general. Es un hombre de muchos conocimientos que ha investigado profundamente el problema de los ovnis en las muchas reuniones que mantenemos telemáticamente. Yo me pierdo unas cuantas porque mi tiempo es oro. Me pierdo unas cuantas, pero es un hombre que siempre es proactivo, tiene la palabra y quiere dar a conocer sus puntos de vista y sus excels. Es el hombre excel de ICER, pues nos va a hablar precisamente de los UAP, que es la nueva denominación que tienen los ovnis. Porque fíjense, la Fuerza Aérea tiene una extraña obsesión en cambiar de nombre a las cosas. Esto que la gente llamaba platillos volantes en las décadas de los 40 y 50, dijeron, esto está demasiado vinculado a los extraterrestres, les ponemos UFO, ovnis, objetos volantes no identificados, que es más aséptico, ahí puede ser cualquier cosa. Y cuando ya después de 70 años todos relacionamos los ovnis con extraterrestres, van y le cambian de nuevo el nombre, a UAP, que es el acrónimo, traducido al español, de fenómeno aéreo no identificado. Pues él nos va a hablar del proyecto especial que suponen los UAP. Por eso vamos a recibir con un fuerte aplauso a Paolo, a ver si lo digo bien el apellido, Guizzardi. Bienvenuto.
Gracias, Josep. ¿Me están entendiendo bien? Sí, ok, bueno. Señoras y señores y caballeros, buenos días. Voy a comenzar en español, pero lamentablemente mi español no es adecuado para una buena presentación. Entonces voy a continuar en inglés. Tenemos una óptima intérprete aquí. Espera que te quería escucharte. Ok, momentito. Ok. So, now, agora voy a pasar en inglés. So, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thanks very much. And I am really happy to be here in this important Congress and with such an interested public assisting. So, what I am going to present today, well, the title has been slightly changed. The title is ECI for UAP. ECI, I will explain later what it is. UAP, as Josep has already said, stands for unidentified aerial phenomena. If you prefer, you can use the term UFO interchangeably. It's just the same. So let's go on with this presentation. So this presentation is a study on how to stimulate the European Union in order to produce UFO or UAP related legislation. This is by me. Okay, so first of all, what is ECI? It stands for European Citizens Initiative. Then we'll see what it is. ECI is an instrument of direct democracy. ECI is provided by the European Union institutions in order to give citizens of the European Union the possibility to exert an influence on the Union policy and legislation. So it's indeed an instrument for for direct democracy. ECI gives the possibility to the citizens of the European Union to engage directly the European Commission proposing initiative for new legislation. New legislation, this is important. Then why to use ECI? ECI is the only practically available method that can be used to be able to exert an influence on the Union policy and legislations. In this case, to create a pro-UAP, or UFO, if you prefer, a pro-UAP UFO legislative framework. The use of other instruments, like, for instance, the petition to the European Parliament, is improper, because petitions can only be used to address existing subjects, existing problems, not to creating anything new. So petition just to complain for something which has not been properly implemented or followed or whatever. Just for, typically for complaining, not for proposing and not for creating anything new. So how does this ECI function? First of all, the citizens must group themselves in a group of at least 7 promoters, or more, of course. Then the promoter, they then have to register their initiative to the European Commission. You see here, the European Commission is one of the main bodies of the European Union. Then they have to start to get support for this initiative by the public. This support has the form of signatures. It can be on paper, can be digital. Then the signatures are verified nationally, and then they are submitted to the European Commission along with the proposal by the proposing group. Then the possibility is given to the promoters to explain publicly the reasons for the initiative. Then the European Commission decides on the proposal. So this is how the ECI functions. So what to do practically with ECI? ECI has to be used to have the European Union institutions produce new UFO, UAP oriented legislation. This is important. For this, ECI allows proponents to submit the European Commission legislative texts of their own formulation, or just to submit some general guidelines with the proposal and then leaving the formulation of the specific legislative texts to the European Commission. The choice is left to the proponents. Then, the phenomenon. So, we know that the phenomenon is real. UFO, UAP phenomenon is real and manifests itself in several different ways. Then we know that it is unknown because the phenomenon remains vastly unknown. Then serious. The UFO, UAP phenomenon contains serious potentialities. Then it's widespread in the sense that the potentialities of the phenomenon can affect the whole humanity of planet Earth. And the possible consequences of these potentialities have an enormous relevance, not big, simply enormous. So, the solution process, again, once more, the practical use of ECI for a UAP-oriented action foresees an interaction of its proponents with the European Commission in order to face the challenges posed by the UFO UAP phenomenon that would unfold as follows. Recognition. So first of all, the UFO UAP phenomenon has to be recognized at the political level. This is the very basic starting point. Then legislation. So following the recognition, a specific legislation has to be created because, I mean, it looks obvious, but we have to say that there is no legislation at all because there is no recognition of the UFO UAP phenomenon by the European Union. Then action following the legislation, the practical action shall ensue. Then the pillars of the proposal. So the proponent's action towards the European Commission would be based on the following subjects, all of which are subjects for which the European Union can act. Of course, this looks obvious, but it is important that the proposal is based on subjects which enter into the field of action of the European Union. So, we have aviation safety under Article 4.2g of the Treaty of Functioning of the European Union. Aviation safety because we know that UAP can be sometimes a problem for the aerial navigation. Then we have research and innovation. This is under Article 3 of the same treaty. Research and innovation because it's obvious that this can be a field of interest for the scientific environment in general. And then we also have the environmental protection under Article 4.2e of the treaty, because we can say that many manifestations of the UFO UAP phenomenon assume how can I say, the shape of atmospheric phenomena. So, in any case, it could be a good thing to study the UFO UAP phenomenon under the point of view of the atmospheric phenomena, because in times of wild and dangerous climatic changes like we are today, the more we know the functioning of our atmosphere and the best it is. So these are the main pillars, so to speak, of the proposal, the subjects. Oh, sorry. What happened? Okay. Entonces, estábamos aquí. Okay. The ECI action in brief. So this is a quick glance of the main steps on which this ECI pro-UAP process is based. This way. Okay. So we have, first of all, informing the European Commission. Then there is collecting the signatures for the support to the campaign. Then we have the validation, because the signatures, once they are collected, must be validated on a national basis. And then we have presenting the text and signatures to be officially submitted or presented to the European Commission and discussed with the European Commission. So, let's see the temporal sequence. So, we have T0. This is when the organizer group is assembled and officially created. Then we have T1, which is when the registration of the initiative at the European Union happens. So we have T2, where the initiative is hopefully accepted by the European Commission and is registered, hopefully. And the span between T1 and T2 is maximum 4 months. Then we have T3, which is when the support campaign and collection of signatures starts. So, to be accepted, the organizer must be able to gather at least 1 million of signatures, at least 1 million in the whole European Union, which after all is not that much, even if 1 million can look a great number. But in any case, I mean, I think it's feasible. So, then we have T4, it's when the support campaign starts, which we have seen is 1 year. So within this 1 year span, organizer must gather at least 1 million signatures, supporting signatures. Then we have T5. T5 is where the verification of the supporting signature by national authorities happens. Then we have and there is the interval is maximum 3 months. Then we have T6, which is when the submission of initiative plus the supporting verified signatures happens. That is, the organizer take the million signatures and the text of the initiative, and they present these to the European Commission. And this, the interval of time allowed is 3 months again. Then we have T7, when the possibility there is the first meeting of the organizer with the European Commission, which is meant to explain to the European Commission the reasons for the initiative. Then we have a public hearing to present the reasons for the initiative. I mean, a public hearing of the organizer with the European Commission. And the span is 3 months maximum. Finally, we have the reply within 6 months from the submission, official submission of initiative text plus supporting signatures. Within 6 months, we have the reply by the European Commission. This reply can take the form of new legislation or of any other form that the European Commission may think it's opportune. Then, let's see an estimate of the pros and cons of an ECI pro-UAP initiative. So let's see what these entails, what are the positive and what are the negatives. So the pros, the positive factors, are a big boost to the UAP cause, or UFO cause if you prefer, in general, and the possibility of an historic game changer, because in case of success, this could change the rules of the UFO UAP game, if you prefer, once and forever, at least in Europe. Then a positive return of image for the proponents, and also a benchmark to measure the footprint of the proponent organization and its capacity to address vast layers of the population. So these were the positive factors. Let's see the negatives, the cons. First of all is considerable level of costs involved. Then we have the necessity of a prolonged, articulated bureaucratic effort. It takes effective management and coordination needed and which must be needed and maintained for a long time. It needs multiple interactions with the European Commission at a high bureaucratical level. And it entails the necessity of a specific knowledge of the law of the European Union. So these are the pros and the cons of this initiative, because of course the necessity of EU law knowledge is mandatory in order to be able to formulate a properly laid out plan. This is important. So let's see what I called the critical crossroads. It is an estimate of the points where the ECI process could come to a halt, could stop, could fail. First of all, the registration phase, because the ECI, the European Commission, could decide not to accept the request for registration of the initiative. This is possible. This is their own discretion. So this is why the proposal must be properly formulated from the very first beginning. Otherwise, the Commission does not accept it. Then we have the phase of support harvesting. It could, because the 1 year period could not be enough to gather the minimum of 1 million required supporting signatures, with specific minimums in 7 countries, by the way. Then the final decision, because the final decision, of course, is up to the European Commission, and they may well decide that the issue does not deserve any special legislation. That could happen. So these are the 3 critical points. Sorry, these are the 3 critical points where the initiative, the process could come to a halt: registration, support harvesting, and final decision. So finally, a quick review. So using this ECI for UAP means putting that direct democracy instrument, which is called ECI, that is made available by the European Union, to the good use of creating new UAP research-oriented and EU-wide legislative framework based on the recognition of the UAP phenomenon and the need for its study. In a nutshell, a direct democracy instrument is used to create new pro-UAP or UFO legislation. And that's all. Thanks very much for your attention. Gracias.
Hola. Grazie. No. Aspetta un attimo, Paolo.
Aspetto.
Cuestiones.
Ah, ok.
No sé si alguien quiere preguntar, porque toda esta cuestión burocrática que Paolo nos estaba explicando es porque obviamente, Aiser quiere presentar a la Unión Europea una propuesta de estudio de los UAP.
Estamos en la fase de estudio propiamente en este momento. Esta presentación aquí viene del estudio que yo personalmente he hecho sobre el mejor sistema para estimular la Comisión Europea a la creación de un cuadro legislativo específico orientado para la recerca, la pesquisa sobre los UAP. No, en este momento estamos solamente estudiando la posibilidad. No
hay una propuesta encima de la mesa.
No, en este momento, pero estamos estudiando, estamos considerando la posibilidad.
Y esto es importante porque piensen, sí, ahora le doy paso, es que estoy ciego con el proyector aquí, no veo. Esto es importante porque nuestros homónimos estadounidenses optaron no por ir a un estamento supranacional, sino dirigirse al gobierno estadounidense para obtener la desclasificación que a todos nos ha impresionado. Y lo que pretendemos hacer es sensibilizar a las altas estancias europeas para que se pueda llevar a cabo algo similar. Alguien por aquí tenía una pregunta, ¿no? Era usted. Adelante.
Porque es así. ¿Cómo se dice? Las reglas del SI son hechas en esta manera y no puede ser cambiada naturalmente. Entonces, necesitamos de obtener al menos un millón de firmas entre un año.
Igual que en España tenemos lo que se llaman iniciativas legislativas populares y requieren de 100.000 firmas. ¿Por qué 100.000? Pues no lo sé, pero es así. Y lo que le está diciendo Paolo es que a nivel organismo supranacional pues son 1 millón. ¿Por qué? Pues porque son 1 millón. Sí. Ok.
Sí, la procedura de la Unión Europea, de la Comisión Europea, prevé la posibilidad de asignar digitalmente, que yo creo que es mejor. Hay también la posibilidad de asignar sobre papel, pero yo creo que es mejor utilizar el sistema digital.
Estamos en el siglo XXI. ¿Alguna pregunta más, por favor? La señora... Ah, sí. Señorita, si es tan amable, tenía una pregunta, ¿no? Díganos. No puedes gritar. Mira, yo te voy a ceder mi micrófono.
Hola, buenas tardes. Gracias. Mi pregunta iba un poco enfocada a lo que dijo el primer caballero. El motivo de por qué tienen que ser 1 millón de firmas, no pueden ser menos, y a razón de que también, pues, ¿quién decide la cantidad de firmas que hay que recoger? ¿O son siempre 1 millón para cada propuesta que se haga?
Al menos 1 millón. Y la razón por este millón es que naturalmente ¿cómo puedo decir? La iniciativa necesita de haber una cantidad de soporte bastante, ¿cómo se dice? Bastante elevado. Si no podría ser fácil que, no sé, si no sería así, podríamos hacer... La Comisión Europea podría enfrentarse a un número enorme de propuestas. Entonces, esto es una manera de hacer como que la propuesta muestra de tener mucha consideración entre la población, población de la Unión Europea.
¿Y no parece también que en cierta manera se le pone un poco la zancadilla a la población para que no pueda hacer muchas propuestas? Gracias.
Efectivamente, las líneas de corte sirven para hacer de disuasión, para que uno diga, oh, no voy a llegar a 1 millón, no lo hago. Y ocurre con esto, como ocurre en las universidades cuando quieres entrar a medicina y te piden un 9 y tienes un 8,5 y no puedes. ¿Por qué un 9? Pues porque sí. No hay una razón objetiva. Señora.
Buenas tardes. Quería preguntar si se sabe más o menos la fecha en la que se va a presentar a la Comunidad Europea y sobre todo cuándo se va a abrir en España para poder firmar.
En este momento es difícil decir algo de concreto, como yo ya he dicho, estamos valutando la posibilidad de utilizar este sistema por este momento. Entonces, no sé, puede ser meses, puede ser años.
Espero que no.
Yo espero que sea más meses que no años, pero prefiero decir nada en este momento, solamente que estamos considerando concretamente la posibilidad de utilizar este instrumento.
Sí, hay otra pregunta por ahí.
Si la comisión lo rechaza, ¿hay posibilidad de volver a presentarla o ya no se puede y hay que plantearla diferente?
Naturalmente, si la comisión no acepta, hay la posibilidad de hacer una otra iniciativa. Esto no es un problema. El problema es si la comisión no acepta, entonces necesitaría de hacer una nueva iniciativa. Podría ser la misma iniciativa con solamente 2 palabras cambiadas. Se puede hacer, no es problema. Solamente que necesitaría de comenzar de nuevo toda la procedura, pero se puede hacer.
Allí al fondo hay un señor.
Hello, Tony Buckingham from the UK. Does it not seem that perhaps your organisation and ISA should possibly join forces, because surely you're doing similar things? I mean, you're obviously trying to get to European market, whereas ISA is worldwide, but surely to join forces would be stronger than on your own.
Yes, thanks for the question. But to join forces with whom you mean specifically?
I don't have a microphone.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Sorry. Okay, I understood, but I would like to know to see if I understood correctly. You said joining forces, ISER with, but joining forces of ISER with whom?
With the project that you're talking about, getting the European Union to recognise UFOs.
Well, to put things in the proper perspective, I am a member of ISER. I am a member of the Centro Ufologico Nazionale of Italy. So, as an ISER member, this is a study on a possibility that I have prepared in order to see what is the best way, the best instrument to use in order to induce, to stimulate the European Commission to create new legislation. So, as such, this is a study. The ECI in itself is a procedure which is open to all European citizens. So, it's something which is been given by, which is made available to the citizens of the European Union by the European Commission in order to stimulate it. So ECI is a thing. ISER is currently considering the possibility, evaluating the possibility to use this in order to stimulate the Commission to produce new UFO, UAP-oriented legislation.
I see, I understand. Thank you.
De alguna manera, por complementar lo que está diciendo Paolo, ICER, que no ha presentado todavía nada, es una plataforma ideal. ¿Por qué? Porque está implantada en más de 40 países. Y eso es tener mucha fuerza. No es que desde aquí estamos gritando al desierto para reclamar 1 millón de firmas. Es que tenemos gente en 40 países y por lo tanto es más fácil, ¿no? Simplemente por complementar lo que decía. No sé si quieres añadir algo. Sí.
Sí, yo quería repetir una cosa importante. Esta iniciativa de la ECI es una cosa muy válida, una cosa importante, pero necesita de un esfuerzo considerable, de un esfuerzo prolongado. No es algo que nosotros en el Centro Ufológico Nacional de la Italia podríamos hacer. Esto es muy de más. La ICER en este sentido es una organización perfectamente, ¿cómo decir? Perfectamente dimensionada para este tipo de esfuerzo.
Bueno, pues si les parece, a ver qué hora es. Yo estoy... Bueno, sí, tenemos 10 minutos para ir al baño, para ir a respirar aire fresco, pero antes despidamos con un fuerte aplauso a nuestro ponente de Italia, Paolo. Grazie mille.